job's a joke, you broke, your love life's the away. It's like you're always stuck in second gear, when it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your year. But I'll be there for you when the rain starts to fall. I'll be there for you like I've been there before. I'll be there for you 'cause you're there for me too. You're still in bed at 10 and work again at 8. You burned your breakfast so far, things are going great. Your mother warned you there'd be days like these, but she didn't tell you when the world was brought you down to your knees. And I'll be there for you when the rain starts to fall. I'll be there for you like I've been there before. I'll be there for you 'cause you're there for me too.
So one thing I learned in this class was the topic of conflict management. I can feel myself using this in the future because with conflict comes different causes, types, and outcomes, and it is important to know how to manage those conflicts in a business.
So what I learned from this class and what really stuck with me was talking about negotiations. I learned that for successful negotiations, you need to have a resolution of tangibles and a resolution of intangibles. For negotiations, you always have to have some sort of alternative because something might not work out the way that you want it to, and that some people are not always pleasant when you're in negotiations. With talking with Zach Pickra when we did our lab for negotiations, being a car salesman, he got to see some really great negotiations that he got and then some really not so great negotiations as well. So they can go either way, but there always needs to be some sort of compromise and a resolution, so there could be a win-win for each side.
And, nowadays a lot of businesses are investing and instituting diversity training for their employees. In class, for example, we just watched a video today about diversity training in the workplace. Here's a clip from that video.
Kelly, how are you?
I just had the longest meeting.
Oh, welcome to my convenience store. Would you like some Googie Googie? Oh, I have some very delicious Googie Googie, only 99 cents plus tax. Try my Googie Googie. Try my Googie Googie. Try my Googie Googie. Try my...
All right, as you can see, not the best diversity training out there. How does it make you feel?
Again, I think it's important that you train your employees to understand like there's a line of what's good and what's wrong, you know. So it's good to keep that balance because if you don't, then there's going to be different conflicts in the workplace, and that kind of separates people and it splits up a team. And you want everybody to work as one. So kind of like thought, you know.
So the purposes of communicating are to inform, persuade, and build goodwill, and that's like one of the main points I learned this semester. You want them walking away knowing something, and you want to get something out of like what they're saying, and like you want them to know that you were listening and you focus on their wants and needs. So you want to zap them a lot, let them know you're listening and that you're paying attention to them and that you actually want to know what they're saying and that you're actually learning something from them.
So this semester I learned about mentoring and the two main benefits of it for your career and for a psychosocial part of it. For your career, you have a coach that'll help you whenever you need assistance, and they'll protect you and they'll give you exposure and availability. For the psychosocial point of view, you have a role model who can give you counseling and can be your friend, and also they'll enhance your feeling of competence.
Class, we learned about ZAPs and SAPs. So SAPs are whenever a coworker or manager kind of says something to suck the energy out of you. And a ZAP is the opposite. It's where they say something that kind of gives you a little bit of life and makes you kind of like working. So could you tell us a time that you have been sapped in your life?
Sapped. So I'm thinking of a time recently where I was in a challenging situation with a colleague, and I needed to address the challenge that the colleague had presented me with, and it was a kind of a personnel challenge, right? Okay. So they had behaved in a way that was unprofessional, and so I had to address it to my colleague, but I went to someone higher up on me to get expert advice on it, and I told them the situation, and they immediately told me what to do, which was very, very difficult.
Okay.
What they were telling me to do was going to be very, very difficult for me. And I think the reason it stopped me was because I really needed them to empathize with the challenging nature of the situation first. I really needed
Right.
them to hear it and say, oh my gosh, that must have been really difficult. How did that make you feel? I think that's what I needed to process first.
Okay.
So I could kind of let go of that, like the damage it had done to me. And then I could kind of like stand up straight and be like, okay, I'm gonna deal with this.
Yeah.
You know, I needed to get beyond my own personal struggle with it and then kind of work in the program logistically, work on the problem logistically. But my colleague kind of just wanted me to just attack it logistically without kind of dealing with the complexities that it provided with me just personally.
Okay.
So it stopped the energy out of me because I wasn't ready to deal with the problem immediately. So then I just went to somebody else and got them to empathize with me and then was able to, you know, work through that and then deal with it logistically.
So then if this person would have been more empathetic and stuff, that would have been more of a zap, you would say.
Yes, I think they would have kind of collectively held a little bit of my struggle in that moment
Okay.
and been present with me.
Yeah.
And then I could have kind of let that, I don't know, those negative feelings or those challenges with it kind of dissipate and been heard. And then I could have moved on to, okay, what do I need to do?
Right.
Yeah, and I think being heard like that is about being acknowledged, right? That you're struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So thank you so much for your time.
I learned a lot about decision making in this class, and specifically like how it's structured. There were the two main models: the rational and the non-rational, and also the garbage can model. I think it's really important, and it's going to help me in life, knowing the rational model and trying to, always make sure that the rational model is the one that you use for decision making, and not letting things turn into the non-rational.
Overall, the main message we learned was team building.
We really learned that communication is key.
Team building is the most essential part of performing a good project.
Now that we are in the adjourning stage with class being over, we are really sad that we're going to be disbanded from our group.
But overall, we value the relationships that we made with Team 2.
Team 2 forever!